For people here in the United States, we are now being warned that we are about to face a crisis that is much worse than a recession. I'm going to break down who is giving us this warning. And again, this is a person that we need to listen to. But the next thing that you need to listen to is what we are seeing right now. Again, I'll break all this down in just a moment, but this is something that we should be highly concerned with moving forward. So again, I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. Takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoyed these daily updates. And now let's begin. So what should we be concerned with here in the United States? Well, here's a few problems that we are currently having. Right now we have an election which is about a month and a half away. This election will be huge. We have two frontrunners at this moment. We have our current Vice President Kamala Harris for the Democratic Party, and we have former President Donald Trump for the Republican Party. One of the issues, there was a second assassination attempt on his life just yesterday. There were shots near where he was at. Now, this is a problem because why, and again, this is something I brought up multiple times before, is how do we protect our current candidates? Not just the president, not just the vice president, but a former president. We need to make sure these people are protected. Okay, you cannot just go and have an election and take out one of the parties. It just doesn't work like that. Now, here's where things get interesting though. That happened just yesterday. One of the reports that I read just this morning is that people are breaking up and divorcing over financial hardships. Okay, these are just a couple issues that we're facing. Another one, businesses are bracing for tougher times as they are realizing that U.S. consumers don't have enough money to pay all their bills and continue shopping at their stores. Okay, but here's the real warning, and this is somebody that we need to listen to. The CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, he warns the U.S. of economic fate worse than a recession. He says the worst outcome. What is it? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today. It says right here, the worst outcome is stagflation, according to Jamie Dimon. And by the way, I wouldn't take it off the table. What is stagflation? Well, let's get right down to that. Okay? Says right here, JP Morgan Chase is the largest bank in the United States, according to Bankrate, with $3.4 trillion in assets. Stagflation, a portmanteau of stagflation and inflation, refers to a state where economic growth slows while inflation and unemployment rise. This is the key here. Economic growth slows down. Okay? We don't see a negative growth, right? But we see it slow down with inflation and an unemployment increase. Okay, let's break this down. First off, unemployment currently is sitting at 4.5%, or actually 4.2%. There's 7.1 million people that are currently unemployed here in the United States. Inflation is at 2.5%. The Federal Reserve's goal is to get inflation down to just 2%. Here's the reason why this is such a big deal today. Today is September 16th. Tomorrow on September 17th and on Wednesday, September 18th, that is when the Federal Reserve has their FOMC meeting. In that meeting, they will decide whether or not they keep rates the same, they increase interest rates, or they decrease rates. The expectation at this time is they're going to lower interest rates by 25 to 50 basis points in the next couple of days. Okay. When we lower interest rates, that usually means that we see increased spending, which means increased spending, additional inflation. So right there, JP Morgan Chase's CEO, Jamie Dimon, says that it's the stagflation is the worry, okay? Because economic growth slowing with inflation and unemployment rising. Here's why this is a problem. If we see the Federal Reserve cut rates, we are going to see additional inflation. It may not go up to 3, 4, 5, or 9.1%, but it will likely go up. 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 maybe. So again, the Fed believes that's doable. That's manageable. We can do that because we can't see additional problems. But what about unemployment? Right? This is another big issue. Well, here's the other problem. Businesses are struggling. Businesses are closing down. Some of which are closing, entirely. They're just shutting their doors. Others are shutting their business a few hours early. I talked about this last week. I said, and I read multiple comments where people were saying that yes, their business is shutting down. One person had a machine shop. Instead of working, they were only working like 30 hours a week. They were working 6 hours every single day, or Monday through Friday. But the business, instead of staying open for 8 hours and bringing in an additional employee, no, they just changed their hours and made it shorter. So these people were technically working full-time hours, when essentially they're really only working 30 hours a week. So yes, businesses are struggling. So there's a good chance we see unemployment go up. We are going to see inflation go up. But what about economic growth? This is the issue. And again, I bring this question up to you because I've been seeing it myself, is we are currently seeing people just aren't buying things. They're trying to sell stuff that they have that they consider an asset. Could be a boat, could be an RV, a second or third car, right? They're selling these things. Timeshares. I can't tell you how many messages I've received, okay, comments, emails, people wanting to sell me their timeshare. They bought it during the pandemic, right? They bought it for what they thought was a good deal, and now they're going to give it to me as a great deal. I can tell you right now, I have no interest in a timeshare. I just don't. And so, to me, a timeshare isn't an asset. It's a liability. But again, this is what we're seeing. People just don't have the money to buy stuff. How many times you go into a retail store now? And I remember during the pandemic, you go into a Target, and that the line was just, through a self-checkout or even a cashier, was just backed up. Today, not so much. You can walk into a Target, you can almost park by the front door. That's how dead it is. And again, that's Target, a very big retailer. Walmart, similar. Costco's crushing it. But again, this is what we're seeing. Now, here's my warning to you, and then I'm going to read a little bit more of this. We are about to see things go from bad to worse. And this is going to happen. Some are expecting, again, it depends on who the winner of the upcoming election is. Again, we may not know who's going to control the House or the Senate, potentially for another couple months, but we'll likely know who the next president's going to be. If the next president is Kamala Harris, that will bring on some additional issues. If the next president is former President Donald Trump, it's going to be good for business, but it could hurt lower income households. So again, there's going to be ups and downs to both candidates. Let's read the rest of this. It says the economic consequences of stagflation may cause retirement savings to go down as well as the stock market to crash. It was last seen in the U.S. during the 1970s. Now, the economic consequences of this. Stagflation may cause retirement savings to go down as well as the stock market to crash. One of the other things that it's currently doing right now, because we are seeing people are struggling to pay their bills, I've been seeing so many different stories, comments, emails as well. People are pulling their money out of retirement because at this point, they are not looking at retirement. They're not looking 10, 20, 30 years down the road. No, they don't care about what's going to happen in 20 years. They care about today. So they're pulling all their money out of retirement and using that money just to live. That's what they're doing. So the stock market essentially isn't crashing. They're selling because they need the money. They need the cash. They don't want to be a holder of a company. They want the cash. Let's keep reading. It says, while inflation in August grew less than expected at 2.5%, the outlook for the federal debt is bleak, with the growing number measuring $35.5 trillion as of September 12th. It says interest payments due in October on the national debt now exceed the cost of both Medicare and the national defense budget. national debt may contribute to further inflation on the horizon. It says this is the first time in American history that interest payments on the national debt have risen above $1 trillion. That right there should be concerning to many people. When our debt now exceeds the cost of both Medicare and the national defense budget, that's a problem. Now, last thing I want to leave you with is this. I don't see the U.S. economy, I don't see us bouncing back quickly. I just don't. Could this happen in the next year? Yes. Are we going to go through a recession or a stagflation period? Depression? Potentially. What I see happening is, number one, inflation is going to go back up. I just know this is going to happen because of what we currently see. Second thing is unemployment is going to go up. How high it goes, I don't know. Do we see economic growth or does it slow down? Well, that's what we're going to find out. The one thing I can tell you is, again, this is not going to happen over the course of 1 to 3 months. This is going to take potentially 6, 12 months, maybe 18 months to get out of this. So, as we get more information on this, I promise I'll bring you all the latest news and updates as we get it. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.